I want to build a new layout. A layout that'll fit over here in this little area that I can work on. It needs to be able to come out through this door right here, down these steps, and then I got to be able to load it up and put it inside the back of this van. And I want the layout to be 4 foot by 8 foot like this one here. And in order to make all that stuff happen, I have to be able to make the layout fold up so I can take it in and out of places. You see, because I want to build one of these right here. The old Tyco layout expander system. The one from 1977. And I want to take and go on tour with it. So this here is our first installment of building this layout right here. Stick along with me because I'll show you what it takes to build a folding layout. Pretty straightforward, nice and simple, the way I did it. I'm Ron, Classic Model Trains. Few things that this thing needs to be. It needs to be a 4 by 8 to make it a small, simple layout. And I want it to be as tall as this one right here so it kind of matches up. What does this thing say? This is 40 3/4. So I've been thinking about it for quite some time now, and I've come up with something that's going to kind of look like this. That ain't working out very right at all. It's got to be able to pivot, and the way I decided to make it pivot is to have this upright coming over here, and it's going to have a hole in it. There's going to be casters under here to move it around, and this layout will sit up above, and I've designed this little hinge area here that'll allow it for storage. This part will rack and stand straight up and down. It's like 40 3/4 to 7/8, depending upon whose tape measure you use. So if I do some creative math, these are my casters here from the Amazon. They are 5 1/4. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch piece of plywood up over here. We know that this is going to be 3 1/2, and this is 1/2. So this is going to give us 4 inches. This part right here is going to be 1 1/2 inches. So we start running the numbers. 40.75 plus 4 negative, 5.25 negative, 1.5 negative. That tells me that the distance from here to here is going to be 30 inches. So we've got a good start here on everything. I'm going to double check my math because I just did this right here in front of you live, because it's best to measure twice, cut once, and we'll start building this stuff. Now this here is 48 inches. And I've always said, don't put your legs on the edge of the layout. It's boring. Right in the center is 24. So what do these over here need to be? If those rollers were only 24 inches, that wouldn't be much. But I thought that maybe a 30-inch lower leg would be fine, because it's got to be able to fit through the doors. It could even be up to 32. In fact, that's what I decided to do. I'm going to make it 32 inches, this one. And with that being 30 and half of this being 24, when this is rotated around like this, I believe it will fit in the van, because it'll be 40 3/4 plus 24 inches. 40, 50, 64. Yeah, that only gets us at 5'4". Beautiful. I'm going to get cutting. Got all set up for some production here, so let's cut some wood. So these are our feet. The bottom ones that are 32 inches long, and these are the legs that go up. I need to get the casters on here and drill them, because it's easier to put them in the drill press now when they're not assembled. There's going to be a board that goes from the bottom of this foot. This is upside down. It's going to go all the way across, so the bottom piece right here is going to actually be boxed in to keep the flexing to a minimum. And we want to make sure that the casters cannot hit this. This part sticking out here is the brake. So it's got to have just enough room. So this is back here 6 inches from the edge. Like this one over here, I marked the holes, and we'll drill them out, bolt them in. Here. Now you don't have to use a drill press. I just bought this, and I've only used it like once, and it's a year old. It's almost too small for doing this kind of work, but we're gonna have our holes nice and square, for sure. 5/16 inch drill bit. Do this on both ends. Then when you get all said and done, you can bolt your casters on. 5/16 bolts, 2 to 2 1/8, maybe 2 1/4 long right here. Washer, lock washer, nut on it. And we've got the clearance that we need right there so the brakes don't hit the end. I'm getting ready to make a hinge up in this area up here. So what I want to do is there's going to be a board on top of it, and it's going to hinge down like this. This is the layout, hinging back and forth. I'm going to use a piece of 3/4 conduit for the hinge pin, and I've centered this down here. This is 1.5 inches down, so this is 1 3/4 inches. And we have to cut this radius off for this thing to do what I want it to do. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Because this is all in theory until I put it to work. I'm gonna get a jigsaw out. I'm gonna cut this radius off that I drew with this protractor right here. And then we're gonna drill a 1-inch hole right in the center of that. And that's for our bar to go through. And this will all make sense later on down the road, hopefully. Now that we got the uprights cut, the holes in them, we're gonna mount them to the legs. I got me some lines here to center all this up. And I'm using some 4-inch Big Daddies. Out here in the wind. Yes. One more. Give it to me. Here we go. Do that one more time. Here's what I got at the end of day one. And by the end of day one, I mean the first 3 hours of working on it. Because that's all that I can work, or I don't dare go anymore. So here's how this hinge is going to work. The 1x4s that go across the top for the plywood, they're going to bolt on right here. And there's 2 of them, and I didn't think about that, but I'll have to, shim this up. And then the layout will fold over like this, but you've probably seen that from the intro. But this is how it works. That's why we cut the radiuses right there, so that everything can turn. Rolls around quite nice. Now I gotta do some beefing up. There's gonna be some supports going in there. So don't be starting to pick it apart yet, because we're not 100% finished. But we will soon. It's 3 o'clock on a Friday, so I'm gonna sit down on the heating pad for a while, get feeling a little better. And then me and the little lady are gonna head on out to town, have some supper, stop down at the microbrewery, and have a pint or 2. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Welcome back to day 3 of the build. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, this should be day 2. But day 1 was actually removing the existing part of the layout that was sitting right over here. I had to move all that out of the way so I can start this. I got started a little bit ago, and I would have gotten started a lot more bit ago, but it took me half an hour to find the stuff that I organized and cleaned and put away so that I could find it again, and then promptly forgot where I put it, so it took a while to find it. Let me show you what I got going on over here. I cut this thing right here. This is going to be the upper layout portion. And it shows how this hinge is working. The 1x4s, I drilled pilot holes in there because 1x4s like to split, especially when they're used. 2-inch screws going into this on the front and the back. And this is going to allow this layout to lay straight up and down like so. But as you can see, when it's laying straight up and down, there's a lot of weight. And this right here is going to be a fulcrum. And it's going to tear this over this direction, creating some havoc, since we're just building it out of wood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a box in right here, which will support this fulcrum area. And then when this lays down, it's going to lay perfectly on top of it so that this layout will be flat. So that'll solve half of our issue, making sure everything's pretty like this. Just some measurements through here. I'm going to put a piece of plywood in there to hold this thing nice and strong. So with some quick thinking on my feet, we're gonna go like this. These are our dimensions. I took this outside hinge off. We'll cut a hole here for the plywood, and then this will be back on like this, but the plywood will be sandwiched in between there. And I think that's gonna be a good deal. No, that ain't a good idea. We're gonna cut this radius like this on the other side of this outside hinge so that it doesn't interfere with the plywood. That's what we're gonna do. There we go, that one looks a little bit better. A little 3.5 by 3.5 notch out right there. So this hinge is gonna come right up underneath this hinge, And now that the hinge is round on both sides, it's not going to interfere with it. That's, I think, what's going to work. We got a level sitting across the bottom there so I can get a good measurement. A good place to put this thing on, the old square. Set her on there, put it up against this board. That is exactly what I like to see. Square, level, straight, plumb, even, Steven. There's that board on over there. I just put this guy on over here. I'm going to throw that other board in for the support on the back side. So now that both of the side pieces are on, I put this stop in right here. So when the layout comes around, it's got something to rest on. And when you do everything right, your bubble's where it's supposed to be. So that's the purpose of this. This is the overhang on each, so well, an 8-inch overhang. Is that what it is? Did I do my math right? No. Yeah, because there's going to be 3/4 of an inch of the 1x4 on the outside. Now it's time to start building the layout, the top part, the tabley top. This part right here. That part. Here's the layout for the framing of the deck. And I've marked all these here. We got 1x4s, 16-inch on center. And I went ahead and I drilled them with a pilot hole so I don't worry about splitting it out. I'm going to screw all these together with an 1 5/8 drywall screws I had laying around. And hopefully we're going to have something strong after it's all said and done. Emergency vehicles are just roaring all over the place. People are getting crabby and wily out there again, I guess. This is all built. I decided to put 2-inch screws down here in the ends so they go in that far because I want some bite. I want them to grab. Now I'm going to take it and put it on the layout, move it in there. It's nice and light. Maybe I can rope the little lady into giving me a hand moving this thing. And then after just a few short hours, this is what we come up with. Here's the hinge. One's right here. The other one's right here. And this allows this layout to go like this. Mostly for storage. 32 inches wide total. Allow it to get through doors. A guy could frame this in, put a piece of plywood over here or some shelves, and then use that to store the tray when you're moving cases in there, protection. So you can roll it in, the rolling stock. Of course, the buildings will be bolted to it. Now what I got to do is I got to figure out a way to keep this layout up like this. I just kind of thought about just having some 2x4s that go from there and it would come up into here and bolt in and hold it rigidly up. So I'll work on making that happen. Get the plywood on there. This is coming out really nice. Editing Ron coming at you right here. I realized that I've neglected to put in a Classic Model Trains Classic Model of the Week this week. And if I don't do it, there's going to be an uprising out there. So we're going to have to knock it out. So let me get the bit going here. We're about halfway through the video right now, and it is an excellent time to do this week's segment of Classic Model Trains Classic Model of the Week. Do you guys know who this is? If you do, put in the comments down below. We do this to try to get you guys to interact with the video and make the algorithm happy. If you don't know who it is, stick around till the end. I'll let you know. Let's get back into it. We're getting ready to get day number 4 started up here. It's Sunday now. There's a couple things that I need to do to reinforce this thing a little more because it's made to be on the road. I want to move this thing around, get it out in the public, and show people a model railroad layout, and maybe we can get some interest in the hobby, is what I'm ultimately desiring, why it's made the way that this is. But let me show you something here. So with this layout sitting here, all the weight is hanging off these hinges of this part right here. And they're not really made for that kind of weight, especially if we're driving down the road. It could create some havoc. So I'm going to put some blocks under here that'll support the bottom of this layout to keep it, for the weight when it's down this way. And also this diagonal right through here, this box, it doesn't have anything to help it from racking back and forth like this in travel or in transit, moving it up and down a ramp. So we're going to put some diagonals, some cable stays in there from here to here, and from this corner down over this way tighten them up, and that'll keep this thing from racking back and forth. And then I think she'll really be ready to transport, to move around. I'm still working on a decent latching system for this. I want something that's simple. I'm gonna go and see what the hardware store has available for me here this afternoon. So we got her up on the table so a guy can get down there and paint them. These guys here, they're bolted down, custom cut, made, tried it out. They fit, it's tight. Here's my diagonal braces going on across the center there. Lightweight, easy to move, didn't cost much. I'm gonna strip those off so I don't get paint all over them, and we're gonna get ready with that stuff. Not my favorite part of the project, but it definitely makes a huge difference. To set the plywood up on the top there, I needed something to lock this thing down. So I just cut a couple 2x4s, threw them underneath there just to hold up this hinge end. And I'm like, well, that's thick. And now I gotta paint those. And I realized I got these things right here that was out in the scrap pile. These are used inside of RVs to keep the slide outs from sliding out. It's like a mechanical lock. Well, that old nasty fifth wheel that I made a video of that was the smoker haven, they were in there. And they're adjustable in length and everything. So I'm gonna wash these up because they're full of urine. Everything I own seems to be full of urine. Wash them up, get a little WD on them, and then these are gonna make excellent ones of those right there. Those are much nicer. They're like load bars for semis, sort of like that, yeah. Yes, so much cleaner. I'm loving it, loving it. I'm gonna draw some straight lines with some pencil using this so that I can put in some little 4D, some bright finish nails on this top here. Get that secured. We got this all nailed down. I didn't glue it down, and I'm wondering if I shoulda. The number 4s that I put in was only like 1.5 inches big. And I put them around the perimeter here about every 6 to 7 inches. And then on my lines, on the 16 inches on center, I drew a line and nailed into the top of them 1-bys about every 8 inches. So there's nails here, nails coming along here. I mean, bam, bam. It's got a lot of nailing going on. This here is a $54 sheet of plywood, I believe it was. It's not an AC, it's like an AA or an AB. It's nice because I didn't want to have any knots in it and making it look nasty. Now the edge here will be painted black, but I'm running out of time, you know, because of the way I am. I do everything at the last minute. So we're going to do that next week. And then the top is going to be painted brown. A lot like this stuff over here. But this stuff here, I put it on thick and heavy. And I put these kind of icks in it. And then if I want to paint directly over the top of it, these are always going to be in there. So I am going to put the paint on thinner and more coats over there because I'm going to learn. I'm going to try to see if I can make better paint jobs, I guess. Lynn McCurdy's out there in the High Desert Modular Model Railroad Club. He's always sending me stuff to work on. A lot of the locomotives, the HO stuff, especially the nicer things, they usually come from him. And he sent this box up and then he wanted me to open it up on air in the video. He showed up just a few days ago. He always gives me these stickers right here. The sticker all over the place. Open this one first. Oh, there's a letter in here. He sent in some cash. That was super nice of him, Lynn. He said local Bob knows something's coming. It's local Dave. So there's something in here for local Dave also. Very nice for the Lynn. Thank you for doing that. Plus the donation. You must be wishing for a happy and healthy new year. This is going to be a poacher. I've got one of these sitting up there, and I think it probably came from him also. But these are nice because I kind of wanted to do an 1880s railroad, so that would work really well. Here is what would be considered a Prussian locomotive by Bachmann. They make a lot of these earlier year ones here. I wonder if I'm even in the camera. This is another, this one is just called a Locomotive à Vapeur. Steam locomotive. That's French, I guess. Rivarossi. Here's a UP. Nice. Big bugger. I don't know what it is. Oh, this is a Kato. Made in Japan. I'm going to say it's an SD of something, sort of, because I don't know my locomotives by just looking at them. I've always got to look them up to be able to figure out what they are. This little ugly feller. I've got something like this, or I just picked up something like this. In fact, I did. And this one is a Walthers. Yes, ATSF. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what they are. I've always got to look them up. He wanted me to do these live. This is another little kind of an abstract switcher like this. Who's this one by? I should get my glasses on so I could read them. Oh, this is the Bachmann Spectrum right here. Little, yeah, looks like an Alco or something like that maybe. And then this one must be for local Dave. It says it's a railroad hand car in an O-gauge shilling collector series. Interesting. Interesting for sure. Just a quick look at them again. Oh, sure. Yeah. This is the Prussian. Little 240. Cute little fellers. This guy and this guy, and it's a wind-up. Interesting for sure. Thanks going out to Lynn McCurdy for sending these in from the High Desert Modular Model Railroad Club. Did I say that right? Yeah. Only took me 9 times. So what have we put into this thing so far today? Well, for this video, I should say. We got 7 2x4/8s. $26.95. I got these from the Home Depot. I picked them up just the first part of January of 2026. The 1x4s/8s, I had to dig through a whole bunch of them to try to find 6 of them that were straight because, you know, Home Depot. $51.12. 1/2 inch sheet of 4x8 sanded plywood, cheaper than I remembered. $45.55. Premium plywood provides premium results. 4-inch heavy duty casters. I got those off the Amazon with brakes on them, 2-way brakes. So the swivel part this way and then the rolly part this way, double locking brake. 4 of them for $26.99. 3/4 inch conduit couplers. The hinge, the conduit. I just put some splicers on the ends. I'll put an insert here of the video to show you what those look like. $3.98 for 2 of them down at the Ace Hardware store. That blue cable, the 20-foot dog tie-out cable. I just needed some cable so I can make that cross brace to support the thing from doing this kind of stuff. It's a little under 14 bucks. I had a 10-foot piece of 3/4 conduit laying around. The black paint left over, just a gallon that I've been using for 3 or 4 years now. Screws and fasteners, I save all those up as much as I humanly possibly can. $168.58. That's not bad. That is a premium table. That thing is top notch for sure. Next week, we're going to be going over this. I'm going to start laying track. Working on it this week, finishing up some painting. I found this online on the Google machine. You can just type in layout expander system, go to the photos, boom, get this. Checking off the track. I'm going to make it in brass. I know. That's all we had available in 77. That's what I'm going to use. People swear up and down about this no-ox ID stuff right here. On my nickel silver truck, I ain't had a problem. I haven't had to clean it for 5 years. Well, if it's so good on nickel silver, it'll be just as good on complete brass track. My test, my railroad, I'm going to find out because I think people give brass a bad name. A lot of these buildings in here I had, they came on the $1 club layout. The ones I didn't have, I've been ordering them up. Doing all these here, ordering these ones up here. I know I've got the trains because I've got every dang locomotive and car that Tyco's almost put out, except for the really hard ones, the really expensive ones. I think we're going to do it a little differently where we are going to probably paint in the grass, airbrush it. I'm going to learn to airbrush on this. There is no cork underbed on this. So we're going to do whatever they've got here to simulate it. I'm going to go that route. We're going to put some trees on it. If this layout had trees, it would look a lot better. And I'm going to paint my roads to look more like roads instead of something from Hazard County with the Duke boys. This is going to be an interesting journey. I wanted to make this one. There's a few other ones I want to make too. Little smaller layouts, maybe an N-gauge layout, an O-gauge layout. I like the folding aspect. I sat awake for 2 weeks thinking of every little possibility in my head. And then just sat down and built this over the last 3 days. Came out exactly like I wanted it to, for the most part. I have run into 3, 4, 5, 6 local guys now. I've got phone numbers. I ran into one at the microbrewery here a couple weeks ago. Ran another guy just out of the blue, called me up. Hey, what's going on? He lives in town also. I got a father and his son guys. They do N-gauge that I keep running into at the Ace Hardware store. I think we're going to have ourselves a big dinner next week. I'm going to call them all up, and we're going to meet up at the Greasy Spoon out here in our neck of the woods, and maybe grab a bite to eat with them all. So I'll be making some phone calls here. Our classic model of the week is Catherine Ross, American actress, and she's also been married to Sam Elliott since 1984, or they've been still together, but they're something. Anyway, that one right there. I want to thank all the 33%ers for hanging out with us, watching the video till the end. Also, all of our channel members out there, thank you guys for all of your support also. I'm going to get started on this again tomorrow and see how far we can get with it. So thanks for hanging along with me. I'm Ron, Classic Model Trains. Bye-bye.